Let me tell you about the most public humiliation in Tudor history. Not an execution, not a military defeat, not even a scandal. It was actually a pregnancy that wasn't. Mary I, Queen of England, spent 11 months convinced she was carrying a child. Her belly swelled, she felt movement, her doctors confirmed it. The entire country celebrated. Nurseries were prepared, wet nurses were hired, announcement letters were written, signed, dated, just waiting for someone to fill in whether the baby was a boy or a girl. And then, nothing. No baby, no miscarriage, just the slow, horrifying realization that her body had lied to her. That her desperate need for a child had manifested as physical symptoms so convincing that even physicians were fooled. This is the story of Mary Tudor's phantom pregnancy. And it's not a medical curiosity or a sad footnote. It's a psychological horror story about a woman whose entire political survival depended on producing an heir, whose husband found her repulsive, and whose body betrayed her in the cruelest possible way. You think you know Mary I, Bloody Mary, the Catholic queen who burned Protestants, the tyrant, the failure. But let me show you the woman behind the burnings, the desperate, aging bride who needed a baby to save everything she'd fought for. The queen whose body created the pregnancy her mind demanded. July 25th, 1554, Winchester Cathedral. Mary Tudor, 38 years old, marries Philip of Spain. He's 27, 11 years younger. Handsome, accomplished, the son of the Holy Roman Emperor. And he doesn't want to be here. Philip finds Mary physically unappealing. This is documented in letters to his father. She's definitely old by Tudor standards. Her health is questionable. She's had irregular menstrual cycles her entire adult life. She's thin, sickly, and increasingly desperate. But Philip has very clear orders from his father, Charles V. Shut up, marry Mary, secure the Spanish-English alliance, and produce an heir. Do your duty. So, Philip does his duty. On their wedding night and the nights that follow. Perfunctory, clinical, getting it over with. Very wham-bam, thank you ma'am, if you will. Mary, meanwhile, is in capital L-O-V-E, love. Desperately, pathetically, completely in love with this younger man who can barely tolerate her presence. She writes him letters dripping with devotion when he's away, clings to him in public in ways that make courtiers uncomfortable, needs him in ways that have nothing to do with politics. But what she needs is a baby. You have to understand what's at stake here. Mary had fought for years to become queen. She was declared illegitimate by her father, Henry VIII, after her mother, Catherine of Aragon, was cast aside, was forced to sign documents stating her mother's marriage was invalid and that she herself was a bastard, survived her father's reign, which is saying a lot if you know anything about Henry, her brother Edward's Protestant reforms, and a coup attempt to put Jane Grey on the throne. At the end of it all, she'd won. She was queen. She'd restored Catholicism to England. But all of it, every bit of it, would be undone if she died without a Catholic heir. Her half-sister Elizabeth was next in line. Elizabeth, Anne Boleyn's daughter. Elizabeth, who was Protestant. Elizabeth, whose succession would undo everything Mary had worked for. Mary needed a son, a Catholic son, to inherit the throne, to cement the Spanish alliance, to ensure England remained Catholic after her death. Her entire legacy depended on her aging, unreliable body producing a child. The pressure was unimaginable. But, September 1554. Just 2 months after the wedding, Mary's doctors announce she's pregnant. She's missed her periods, though honestly, Mary's periods had never been regular. She's gained weight, she has morning sickness, her breasts are swollen and tender. The Spanish ambassador writes to Charles V. There is no doubt that the Queen is with child, for her stomach clearly shows it, and her dresses no longer fit her. Another letter. The Queen is in excellent health and 3 months with child. She is fatter and has a better colour than when she was married, a sign that she is happier, and indeed, she is said to be very happy. Mary is ecstatic. She announces the pregnancy to the Privy Council with obvious joy and triumph. God has smiled upon her works. The Catholic restoration will continue through her child. And Philip is pleased but restless. He's done his duty. The baby won't be born until spring, and he has wars to fight, territories to manage. And, well, frankly, England is boring and cold and full of people who resent having a Spanish prince consort. But Mary begs him to stay. She needs him. She's terrified of childbirth at her age. Women died all the time giving birth, especially first-time mothers over 35. Philip reluctantly agrees to stay until the child is born. His father had to reprimand him to get him to commit even to that. Mary falls into a depression so severe her counsellors worry she might die before the birth even happens. The man she loves can barely stand to be in the same room with her. But she's pregnant. She has the symptoms. Her body is changing. She's felt the baby move, the quickening they call it, a crucial milestone, proof of life. There's nothing to worry about. The baby will come. Philip will stay. England will have a Catholic heir. Everything will be fine. April 1555. Mary goes into confinement at Hampton Court Palace. This is traditional for royal births. The Queen withdraws to a darkened chamber for 6 weeks, attended only by women to prepare for delivery. It's hot, stuffy, dim. The windows are covered. Candles burn constantly. The air is thick and oppressive. Mary's been pregnant for 7 months now. Her belly is distended. She looks every bit the expectant mother. The nursery is ready. 3 rockers have been hired to take turns rocking the royal cradle. Wet nurses are on standby, as Mary won't nurse her own child, obviously. That's for commoners. Attendants are prepared. Announcement letters are written and signed, with blanks left for the date and the sex of the child. The due date is calculated as May 8th, 1555. So Mary waits. And waits. April 30th, 1555. Rumours suddenly spread that Mary has given birth to a son. The news leaks from the palace somehow, maybe a hopeful attendant, maybe wishful thinking spreading like wildfire. It doesn't matter. Bells ring across London, bonfires are lit, people dance in the streets, shops close. It's a national celebration. The Spanish ambassador writes jubilantly to Charles V about the birth of a prince. Except there is no prince. There is no baby. There's nothing. The news was entirely false. Someone jumped the gun. Maybe they misheard something. Maybe they wanted it to be true so desperately they convinced themselves it was. The correction goes out. False alarm. Miscalculation of dates. The baby will come soon. The celebrations stop. People go back to work. The embarrassment is palpable. Mary, in her confinement chamber, says nothing. May 8th comes and goes. Still no baby. Mary's attendant suggests the dates were miscalculated. Perhaps the baby will come in June. Yes, June. That makes sense. First pregnancies are unpredictable. June arrives. The baby doesn't. People are starting to whisper now. At first, just servants, then courtiers, then ambassadors writing coded letters back to their home countries. Something is wrong. The Venetian ambassador Giovanni Michieli writes that the pregnancy is more likely to end in wind rather than anything else, a diplomatic way of saying this whole thing is bull. Susan Clarencieux, one of Mary's ladies, confides her doubts to the French ambassador. There's no baby. There never was. But Mary insists. She's pregnant. She can feel it. Her body shows all the signs. Behind closed doors, however, Mary is deteriorating. Her attendants report alarming behaviour. She spends hours curled in the fetal position on the floor, sobbing. Sometimes she rocks back and forth with her knees pulled up to her chest. Physically almost impossible for a heavily pregnant woman, but Mary does it anyway. She mumbles to herself, prays constantly, refuses food. Her doctors worry the baby isn't getting proper nutrition, if there even is a baby anymore. She's showing signs of severe mental instability, depression, delusion. The psychological pressure of needing this pregnancy to be real has fractured something fundamental. And still, her belly remains swollen. Still, she insists she feels movement. Her mind is willing the pregnancy into existence. Her body is cooperating with the delusion. And everyone around her is trapped in this nightmare, unable to tell the Queen that her body is lying. Philip is done at this point. He's been waiting since April. It's now July. He has wars to fight. His father needs him. And honestly, he can't stand being around Mary anymore. Her desperation is suffocating. Her delusion is embarrassing. The whole situation has become an international humiliation. Foreign courts are mocking England, mocking him. He wants out. July 1555. Mary's abdomen begins to shrink, not suddenly, gradually. The swelling that everyone had interpreted as pregnancy just deflates. Her attendants notice first, then her doctors, then, finally, Mary herself. By late July, her belly is flat. Her body has returned to its non-pregnant state, just like that. A snap of the fingers and, poof, the physical manifestation of her delusion has ended. August 1555. 11 months after the pregnancy was announced, Mary finally emerges from her confinement chamber. She's thin, gaunt. Her eyes are hollow. She won't speak, won't make eye contact. She moves through the palace like a ghost. One account describes her as impossibly thin, utterly silent, and completely humiliated. Nobody mentions the pregnancy, not in front of her, not where she might hear. The subject has become forbidden. Meanwhile, the nursery is quietly dismantled. The rockers are dismissed, the wet nurses sent home, the announcement letters thrown away. England had prepared for a prince. Instead, they got nothing. Silence, shame. And Philip? Philip leaves for Spain in September 1555. Mary begs him to stay, clings to him, cries, pleads. He's not having any of it. He's going anyway. The Venetian ambassador writes that Mary is extraordinarily in love with Philip and disconsolate at his departure. She's now been abandoned by her body, by her husband, and by the child that never existed. March 1557, about a year and a half after the first phantom pregnancy. Philip returns to England, not because he wants to, but because he needs England's support in his war against France. He brings his mistress with him, doesn't even try to hide it. Mary is 41 now. Her health has declined significantly. She looks 10 years older than she is. She's battling chronic pain, probably from an ovarian tumour or cyst, though nobody knows that yet. But Philip is back, and Mary thinks maybe there's still a chance. And by late 1557, she announces she's pregnant again. But this time, nobody believes her. Not her doctors, not her attendants, not foreign ambassadors, and certainly not Philip, who's well aware that the timeline of this supposed pregnancy, compared to when they last had sex, would make this conception biologically implausible. But Mary insists. Her belly is swelling again. She has symptoms. This time, it's real. Except everyone remembers last time, the 11-month wait, the humiliation, the mental breakdown. Mary writes her will in March 1558, explicitly stating she's pregnant. She's that convinced. The due date comes and goes, again. Her belly swells, but it's not a baby. It's likely dropsy, fluid accumulation from whatever illness is slowly killing her. Or possibly a tumour that's been growing for years, mimicking pregnancy symptoms. This time, there's no confinement, no preparations, no celebrations. Just pity, and waiting for Mary to die. By the spring of 1558, it's clear that the Queen doesn't have much time left. She's slowly dying. Not from pregnancy or childbirth, but from whatever's been wrong with her all along. Ovarian cancer, possibly, or a pituitary tumour causing hormonal chaos. Or just the accumulated stress and physical deterioration of years of illness. She's in constant pain. She can't eat. She's losing weight despite the swollen abdomen. Philip doesn't visit. He's in Spain, busy with his actual life. The marriage had been a political arrangement from the start, and now it's just an inconvenience. Elizabeth, Protestant Elizabeth, Anne Boleyn's daughter, is preparing to take the throne. Everyone knows it. Mary knows it. Everything she fought for is about to be undone. November 17th, 1558. Mary I dies at St James's Palace. She's 42 years old. No children, no heir, no Catholic succession. Elizabeth becomes queen that same day. The Protestant Reformation Mary tried to reverse, it continues. Thrives, actually. And Mary's reign is remembered primarily for the burnings. Bloody Mary, the failure, the fanatic. Her phantom pregnancies become a footnote, a medical curiosity, a sad joke about a desperate woman who wanted a baby so badly her body mimicked a pregnancy. Twice. Modern medicine has a term for this, pseudocyesis, phantom pregnancy, false pregnancy. It's rare, maybe 1 in 22,000 pregnancies, but it happens. The patient desperately wants to be pregnant. The mind convinces the body. Hormones shift, periods stop, the belly swells, breasts enlarge, morning sickness occurs. All the symptoms of pregnancy without an actual fetus. Mary had every risk factor. She was under immense pressure to produce an heir. She was in her late 30s, well past what Tudors considered prime childbearing age, had irregular menstrual cycles her entire life, was deeply depressed and anxious. Her mind needed the pregnancy to be real, so her body made it real, or as real as it could. Some historians think Mary actually was physically ill, that she had an ovarian cyst or tumour that caused the abdominal swelling and hormonal disruption. Others suggest she might have actually miscarried, but couldn't accept it, her body retaining tissue and continuing to show pregnancy symptoms. Maybe it was all of the above, illness and delusion feeding into each other. We'll never know for certain. No autopsy was performed, no medical records survived in detail. What we do know: Mary spent nearly 2 years of her 5-year reign convinced she was pregnant, and she wasn't. There are many things one could say about Mary Tudor, Mary I, Bloody Mary. She was a fanatic, a murderer. But she was also a woman whose body and mind conspired to give her the cruelest false hope imaginable. Twice. A woman married to a man who found her repulsive and who left her the moment he could. A woman who spent her final years in pain, her body swollen with illness rather than life, knowing everything she'd fought for would die with her. That's not just tragic, it's psychological horror. When you think about it that way, it begs the question: did Mary know? Deep down, in moments of clarity between the delusion, did she understand that there was no baby? Did some part of her mind recognise the symptoms as false, even as the rest of her clung desperately to hope? Or was the delusion complete? Did she genuinely believe, right up until her body deflated and the hope died, that she was carrying a child? We'll never truly know. Mary died without recording her private thoughts on the matter, without explaining what those 11 months felt like from inside the delusion. And before she could even be truly mourned, the crown passed quietly to her younger half-sister, the Queen nobody saw coming. We'll leave Mary to rest for now, but the corridors are already humming with new whispers in the dark. The court never stays quiet for long. Until next time.